Hello, everybody. My name is Hunter King, Director of Federal Affairs for the National Association for Gun Rights. Today I'm joined by Representative Bob Good from Virginia's 5th District. We're going to be talking about the Second Amendment Restoration Project today, a pro-gun package that NAGR has worked with multiple members in Congress this year to get introduced, including Rep. Good and Representative Scott Perry. Congressman Good, can you just tell me a little bit about the bill package itself and what specifically your bill does within that package?
Yeah, I was pleased to partner with Scott Perry to introduce these two bills together and appreciate the support of NAGR and all that we're doing to fight for our Second Amendment. As you know, that right is the right that protects all other rights. And when that right is under threat, as it is in this administration in particular, it threatens all other rights. But the bill that we're introducing, the Federal Agent Responsibility Act, would prohibit no-knock warrants from federal agents participating in no-knock warrants to enforce something like the unconstitutional ATF rule against, or that would make a pistol with a brace on it a short barrel rifle under the 1934 Firearms Act. And so what it would do is prohibit federal agents from targeting law-abiding citizens with no-knock warrants to intrusively invade their residence in a way that endangers both the agent as well as the resident for the purpose of potentially confiscating a legal firearm that has been retroactively declared illegal by this terrible ATF ruling.
Mm-hmm. And alongside Representative Good's bill, as you noted, Scott Perry is also running the Protecting Gun Rights and Due Process Act, which aims to protect those gun rights and that due process for law-abiding Americans. And what that does, it requires adjudication by court before being put on a prohibited persons list. We think, and I think you agree with us, these are two very important pieces of legislation being introduced in this 118th Congress. Obviously, Democrats control the White House, Democrats control the Senate. Republicans do control the House. How important do you think it is right now that we go on the offense pertaining to the Second Amendment and continue to set the table moving forward to 2024 and beyond?
Well, appeasement never works. Political appeasement, if you will, trying to sort of draw red lines and back up and surrender ground, especially when it comes to something so precious as a fundamental right, protecting our Constitution and the right to self-defense, the right to keep and bear arms, which the Constitution makes very clear. Congress doesn't even have the ability to limit that without changing the Constitution. You know, the left, the Democrats, the Biden administration doesn't respect the Constitution, doesn't respect the Bill of Rights, certainly doesn't believe that we should have a Second Amendment, but we have it, whether they like it or not, thankfully, with the wisdom of our founders. And so we should not cede ground, we should not cede territory, and we, especially to a regime, a Biden regime that is intent on, frankly, registration confiscation. We know that's their ultimate goal they would like to realize if they had the time to realize it, with hopefully just 2 years remaining. So that said, the American people gave us control of the majority of Congress. And the greatest reflection of where the American people are is not the Senate, which every state gets 2 senators, as you know, so it's not proportional to population. It's not even the White House or the presidency with the electoral vote. But the greatest representation of where the American people are from a voting standpoint is the House. And the American people, by more than 3 million votes, gave the majority control to Republicans. And they did that for us to stand up against the Biden regime and to stop what's happening in this White House. And part of that is this incessant, relentless attack on our Constitution, on our Bill of Rights, and specifically the Second Amendment. So we need to go on offense, and with the power that the American people have given us with the majority in the House.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's a great point, looking at the House from that perspective and having that as a really good depiction of what the United States voters want. I think that's a great way to put that. I'm going to pivot a little bit here and talk about some Supreme Court rulings. Since 2008, the Supreme Court has ruled 3 times to uphold the Second Amendment, restore Second Amendment rights. Last June, they ruled that it is absolutely a constitutional right to carry a pistol as a law-abiding American. How do you think the Second Amendment Restoration Project is kind of going to bolster those decisions and moving forward, kind of bolster that decision moving forward?
Well, thank God for a Supreme Court majority, thanks to Donald Trump, that does respect the Constitution and is focusing on a literal original intent interpretation of the Constitution. And it was really encouraging to see what happened last June, where, as you noted, that where the state of New York was trying to say you have to have some kind of a reason the government approves in order to carry a firearm, in order to carry a pistol. And the Supreme Court said, no, your constitutional right is not subject to you giving a reason to your government for your right to exercise that constitutional protected right. So these kind of rulings are critically important because, as you know, there's going to be cases that are going to rise to the Supreme Court as You see this government overreach, for example, from the ATF with this, again, reclassifying a pistol as a short barrel rifle and making millions of Americans criminals retroactively. Those things need to be challenged through the court system, especially when we don't have the legislative ability to pass legislation with a Democrat majority in the Senate and a president who, of course, doesn't support the Second Amendment. So it's critically important that we have justices in place that we do that respect the Constitution.
And this isn't the first time you have worked with the National Association for Gun Rights on legislation. Is that not correct?
That's not correct. Or that you are correct in what you're saying. We're just thankful for the NAGR, for them being such a warrior for the Second Amendment, for all the work that you do, the way that you provide counsel to us on how we can battle the trenches in the House. You counsel us on legislation. You give us, you help promote what we're doing, and you guys are a wonderful partner. We're thankful for you.
Absolutely, and we appreciate you working with us as well. Hunter King, National Association for Gun Rights. We would urge all Republican members of this House to go and support the legislation that we've been discussing today. Second Amendment Racing Project you can find online at our website, nationalgunrights.org, as well as on our YouTube channel, Instagram, and Twitter. You guys have a blessed day. Thank you for joining us.